Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister. We are in Bible study. We are in First Chronicles, and we are in chapter 9. And it's got all the people, all Israel was listed in genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. So they're saying they had a census of everybody. The people in Jerusalem. The people of Judah were taken captive to Babylon because of their unfaithfulness. So now you have an understanding of when this book was written in the chronology and why it might have been written down this way. Because they were in captivity. So not accessing any of the documentation that they had back at home because they weren't allowed to take it with them. Now the first to resettle of their own property in their own towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and temple servants. Those from Judah, from Benjamin, and from Ephraim, and Manasseh, who lived in Jerusalem, were Uthai, Uthai, son of Ammihud, Ammihud, the son of Omri, Omri, the son of Imri, Imri, the son of Bani, Bani, the descendant of Perez, son of Judah. So those are all tribe of Judah. Of the Shilonites, Shilonits, Asahiah, Asaiah, the firstborn, and his sons. Of the Zephriites, Jeuel, Jeuel, the people from Judah numbered 690. So that's how many after the Babylonian conquering, so that's like 500-ish BCE that we're talking about here. Of the whole tribe, which was, many hundreds of thousands as a minimum, like usually at least they were in as we were reading in the tribe numbers. So let's go back for a second. Just flip back a couple of chapters and let's stop and take a look at the tribe of Judah, because that's really what the lesson is. What did the tribe of Judah say? The tribe of Judah had this nice long list. They really did give this. They didn't really give a count here. But I mean, it's so many generations. Judah got its own chapter. So, I mean, just think about how many numbers that is just in royal, in important line. And yet, when they're coming back from exile, there's 690 of them. I mean, we just, in the previous chapter, read for Asher that there were 26,000 people that were there and then were taken during one of the conquerings. Okay? Of the Benjaminites, Salu, Sallu, son of Meshulam, Meshullam, the son of Hodaviah, Hodaviah, the son of Hashuna, Hassenuah, Ibeniah, Ibeniah, son of Jeroham, Jeroham, Elah, Elah, son of Uzziah, Uzzi, the son of Mikri, Micri, and Meshulam, Mashullam, the son of Shephatiah, Shephathiah, the son of Reuel, Reuel, the son of Ibnijah, Ibnijah, J-A-H. The people from Benjamin listed their genealogy, numbering 956. Okay, so Benjamin. So many. Okay. 17,200 fighting men. 956. That's the important part here to be remembering. So he didn't wipe them out, but he certainly humbled them, right? These men were heads of their family. Of the priest, Jedediah, Jehoiarib, Jehoirib, Jakin, Jakin, Azariah, son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Zadok, the son of Merioth, Meraiot, the son of Ahitub, the official in charge of the house of God. So that's their lineage. So by their lineage, that means any one of those sons could be in charge of the house of God. Adadiah, Adaiah, the son of Jeroham, Jeroham, the son of Pashur, Pashhur, the son of Malkijah, Malkijah, and Maasaiah, Maasai, the son of Adiel, the son of Jahazerah, Jahzerah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Meshilemith, Meshillemith, the son of Immer, Immer. The priests, who were the heads of families, numbered 1,760. They were able men responsible for ministering to the house of God. Okay. Of the Levites, specifically, Shemaiah, Shemiam, the son of Hashub, Hasshub, the son of Azrikam, Azrikam, the son of Hashabiah, Hashabiah, a Merarit, Merarit, Bakara, Bakkar, Heresh, Heresh, Galal, Gallal, and Mattaniah, Mattaniah, son of Micah, the son of Zikri, the son of Asaph, Asaph. Obadiah, son of Shemaiah, son of Galal, the son of Jeduthun, Judthun, the son of Bechariah, the son of Asa, the son of Elkanah, Elkanah, who lived in the village of the Netophathanites, Neto, Phathits. The gatekeepers. Shalom, Akub, Akkub, Talmon, Talmon, Ahiman, Ahiman, and their brothers. Shalom, their chief, being stationed at the king's gate on the east, up to the present time. This temple doesn't exist and all that, so probably not. These were the gatekeepers belonging to the camp of the Levites. Shalom, son of Kor, son of Ebasaph, Ebiasaph, the son of Korah, and his fellow gatekeepers from his family, the Korathites, were responsible for guarding the threshold of the tent, that is the temple. So wherever the threshold that the most holy of holies is with, is wherever they're responsible for guarding. In this case, it goes from a tent to a temple gate. Just as their fathers had been responsible for guarding the entrance of the dwelling of the Lord. In earlier times, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, was in charge of the gatekeepers. My great-grandpa, Phinehas. And the Lord was with him. That's good to know. Because sometimes when I read these things, I'm like, what? Zechariah, son of Meshelemiah, Meshelemiah, was the gatekeeper at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Altogether, those chosen to be gatekeepers at the threshold numbered 212. They were registered by genealogy in their villages. The gatekeepers had been assigned to their positions of trust by David and Samuel the seer. They and their descendants were in charge of guarding the gates to the house of the Lord, the house called the tent. The gatekeepers were on the four sides, east, west, north, and south. Their brothers in their villages had come from time to time and share their duties for 7-day period. So they trained people out to do the gatekeeping. But the four principal gatekeepers, who were Levites, were entrusted with the responsibility for the rooms and treasuries in the house of God. So they're meant to handle the money. You see how they're related to these people, so they're the ones who are going to handle the money. They're not going to give that responsibility to a different family. Their fathers had always done this, so they will do this. And that is their job. You see, that's because it's really how it works. They would spend the night stationed around the house of God because they had to guard it. So they had to live near it so they could sleep near it. So where their sleeping quarters were would have been near whatever that is. And they had charge of the key for opening it each morning. And so they were probably on some sort of time schedule rotation. Some of them were in charge of the articles used in temple service. They counted them when they were brought in and when they were taken out. Okay, so this is kind of funny to me because what this reminds me of? My uncle that has passed away. When he got to a certain age in his life when this is what he could do, he did work for a company where he was one of those people in the cages with all the company's supplies and tools and stuff behind him, and you had to check in and out the company construction equipment with him, because he was the shopkeeper. So this just kind of I'm sorry, that can be a divinely given profession. Just so you know. Others were assigned to take care of the furnishings. Okay. It's funny to me. My dad likes to refinish furniture. I know other people, my grandpa used to do that too. And all the other articles of the sanctuary, as well as the flour and wine, and the oil, incense, and spices. I'm down for all those. But some, I don't really do wine anymore. I do juice instead. But some of the priests took care of the mixing of spices. So I do that. A Levite named Mattathiah, Mattiiah, the firstborn of Shallum, the Korathite, was entrusted with the responsibility for baking the offering bread. And I got to say, that is a huge deal in my family. That is one of the first things that my mom ever taught me to do, was how to bake bread. Because she said, if you could bake this bread from scratch, then because these ingredients that you can get, they're actually relatively cheap. You have no reason that you would have to starve. If you can find a way to bake this bread, then you can do this. You can keep this, for me, it means keep the electricity on, buy these 3 very basic ingredients, keep the water on, and I don't have to starve kind of situation. And that's just because she came from a multi-generational family where her parents did live through the Great Depression. So it was one of those, you need to understand this thing. So I find that fascinating. Some of their Kohathite brothers were in charge of preparing for every Sabbath the bread set out on the table. Those who were musicians, heads of Levite families, because those two things kind of go together, because it's part of how the Lord divinely speaks through you. Music is a way. It's a choir of angels that sings to the Lord all the time. So that means, they need people in the they need people who sing then, right? They need musicians. They need artists. And that's also big in my family. Music is huge. Especially for my dad. I love music as well. It's baked in. They stayed in the rooms of the temples and were exempt from other duties because they were responsible for the work day and night. All these were the heads of Levite families, chiefs, as listed in their genealogy, and they lived in Jerusalem. The genealogy of Saul. Jael, the father, got B, the father may mean civic leader or military leader, of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife's name was Maacah, and his firstborn Abidan, followed by Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gader, Ahio, Zechariah, and Mikloth. Mikloth was the father of Shimeam, Shineam. They, too, lived near their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish, Kish the father of Saul, Saul the father of Jonathan, Melchishua, Aminadab, and Ishbaal. And it's got the footnote letting you know that that is also known as Bosheth. The son of Jonathan, Merib Baal, who is also, so I got a footnote of D. Where are you? Yeah, anyway, I put also Meshibeth, as we said before, who is the father of Micah. The sons of Micah, Pithon, Pithon, Melech, Melech, Tahari, Tahrea, Ahaz, get a footnote of E with next to Ahaz, Vulgate, and Sirach, that's Latin and Syrian. See also the Septuagint, that's Greek. First Chronicles 8:35. Hebrew does not have and Ahaz. So some people debate whether or not that's the son of Micah. Ahaz was the father of Jediah. Jediah, Jadah, has a footnote. Some Hebrew manuscripts, Septuagint and First Chronicles, has it as, instead of Jediah, it's Jahara. They debate D for an R. Was the father of Emeleth, Alemeth, Azametheth, Zimri, and Zimri was the father of Mosa. Mosa was the father of Binia. Raphiah was his son. Elishah, his son, and Aziel, his son. Aziel had 6 sons, and these were their names: Azrakiam, Bokarua, Ishmael, Shariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. These were the sons of Aziel. So, if you want to find out what happens next in the time of Saul, because that is the next chapter, you're going to need to come back for the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister. We're in Bible study. We are in the Nib. We are in the book of First Chronicles, and we are in chapter 10. Now, I know this seems like a lot of repeat. It is a lot of repeat. It is a long calling of names. Why? Because it was written while they were in exile. They didn't have access to the documentation, so everybody was writing down what they could remember so they could keep their culture active. Now, this is a particularly strong and important point in the history of Judaism. We're in the Old Testament, so we're in Judaism. And I know that's a little confusing because it's a Christian Bible. Why do we need this? When we say in fulfillment of the Scriptures, Jesus is the Messiah. In fulfillment of the Scriptures, these Scriptures, the Old Testament Scriptures, the one who predicted Jesus. You got to read what was going on so you can understand why he was predicted, where he was predicted, and how many times he was predicted. That's really what this is. Plus, a story of what not to do. This is key time in the history of Judaism, which Christianity stems from. It wasn't until they were in exile, being conquered by the Babylonians, and they believed they were in exile because they were unfaithful to their singular God. Because during that time, it was common to have household idols. Like all the things God was complaining about, archaeologically, when they look at it, the people were doing. There is evidence in the layers of household gods and all these other things, like God said, like was in here. They were told repeatedly, if you do not stop doing this thing, God is going to remove you from this land. And even when they broke into two nations, they were like, yeah, that's them. It's not our problem. And they were wrong. They were all taken because they wouldn't listen to the prophets. They didn't like what the prophets had to say, so they kept killing them. They kept, trying to make them enemies of the state because they didn't like what they were saying, just like the Pharisees and John the Baptist. See, it's baked into the mindset of not just this culture, but all the cultures. I mean, honestly, it's a human story, so it repeats. We are now in that time period in which they fully believe the reason they were removed is because they had multiple gods and they were writing down what they could remember. For them, this is like as if, you were sitting there and, somebody was predicting the future right there in front of you and you didn't believe them, and then it happened because they had prophets active and talking, which we'll get into in later chapters, that told them this was coming, and then it hit and lived through it. So they didn't have this, it wasn't far off and distant from them, this voice telling them that this was happening. And then it came true. So it's pivotal in the movement of Judaism as a religion. So it's what they can remember. And what you find out is little tidbits of their mindset. And when that change happened, because when that change happened, they were a conquered people who were not only allowed to go home, but the people who had conquered their people paid for the restoration of the temple. So when God's got you, he's got you, is what that is an overall lesson of. Now, we're in chapter 10. Saul takes his life. Suicide is never the answer. You don't do that. Okay? If you feel that way, there's a lot of different places to get help. Please reach out and get help. Just preemptively, trigger warning because of what it says. Now, the Philistines fought against Israel. The Israelites fled before them, and many fell slain on Mount Gilboa. Gilboa. The Philistines pressed hard after Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons Jonathan, Aminadab, and Malchishua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him. Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and abuse me." It's like, don't let me be captured, because what they'll do to me is worse than death. Like, let me die an honorable death. But his armor-bearer was terrified and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died. So Saul and his 3 sons died, and all his household died together. When all the Israelites in the valley saw that the army had fled and that Saul and his sons had died, they abandoned their towns and fled. And the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They stripped him and took his head and his armor and sent messengers throughout the land of Philistine to proclaim the news among their idols and their people. They put his armor in the temple of their god and hung up his head in the temple of Dagon. Now, Dagon has been brought up in the Old Testament before. It's where when they conquered and they took the Ark of the Covenant there, and God kept knocking the statue down. Like, get this thing out of my way. Get this thing out of my presence. And so it kept breaking. So they felt the need. They got sores, and they gave the Israelites back the Ark of the Covenant with gold. as penance, in the shape of the sin they had been struck down with. When all the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard everything the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men went and took the bodies of Saul and his sons and brought them to Jabesh. Then they buried their bones under the great tree in Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days. It's quite a tribute. Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord, and even consulted a medium for guidance, and did not inquire of the Lord. So the Lord put him to death and turned over the kingdom to David, son of Jesse. So, next chapter that you're going to need to come back for is going to talk about David, as you can see with the lead-in, because they are telling the story, and notice how they're pushing that story, because it's what happened, and he was told, and he didn't change. Not even when it was Samuel, he wouldn't hear, so then he was taken down. And that's what you're going to get to hear. Because like I said, this is the time frame in which it shifts from everybody had a pantheon to monotheism. Without this, it doesn't take off in other parts of the world either, or at least not the Middle East anyway. And it's that lens and that view that actually is everywhere as of to this day. So you just never know when you're reading what's important, and you never know what little tidbits you might find. So come back for the next video, friends. Hello, friends. So, Bible study, the Niv, Acts, chapter 16. We're going to do verse 16 through 40, which takes us to the end of the chapter. It's only really one long parable, is what it is. Paul and Silas in prison. You know, the apostles seem to end up in prison quite frequently. I'm just going to throw that out there. If you mess with the establishment too much, they tend to smack back. It's essentially what you should be. He's never said it would be easy. He said it would be worth it. Those are not the same thing. Once, when we were going to a place of prayer, we were met by a slave girl who had a spirit by which she predicted the future. She earned a great deal of money for her owners by fortune telling. This girl followed Paul and the rest of us, shouting, "These men are servants of the Most High, who are telling you the way to be saved." So it doesn't seem like such a bad thing. She's telling the truth there, right? She kept this up for many days. Finally, Paul became so troubled that he turned around and said to the spirit, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to come out of her." At that moment, the spirit left her. When the owners of the slave girl realized that their hope of making money was gone, they seized Paul and Silas and dragged them into the marketplace to face the authorities. They brought them before the magistrates and said, "These men are Jews and are throwing our city into an uproar by advocating customs unlawful for us Romans to accept or practice." The crowd joined in the attack against Paul and Silas, and the magistrates ordered them to be stripped and beaten. After they had been severely flogged, they were thrown into prison, and the jailer was commanded to guard them carefully. His apostles do also have a habit of just disappearing from jail cells, because the Holy Spirit can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, because it wants. Upon receiving such orders, he put them in the inner cell and fastened their feet in stocks. So they were sitting down. I mean, I'm sure most of, well, I don't know experiences you have, but if you've ever seen a stockade, usually the ones you see, it's got a hole for somebody's head in their hands, and they're like in it this way, right? In this instance, it's down at their feet, because sometimes it's that way, and you have to be seated down because you can't get out. People are usually only put in stockades for a certain amount of time. It's not usually too long, actually. It's usually a temporary thing, stockades. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. Maybe they couldn't sleep either. And the other prisoners were listening to them. Suddenly there was such a violent earthquake that the foundation of the prison were shaken. The foundations of the prisons were shaken, because the foundation... Well, all right, so... The foundation, because I'm in the design end of construction, the foundation is the entire, base of this. So there's only one foundation for any one building. So the prison would need to have two separate buildings that maybe were attached by a bridge, like some sort of overhang, but not in the base, for it to be two foundations. The foundation of the prison were shaken. At once, all of the prison doors flew open, and everybody's chains came loose. Okay, well, they're not in chains. The stock is a different thing. The jailer woke up, and when he saw the prison doors open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself because he thought the prisoners had escaped. It's midnight. They don't have any lamps burning in this area. Everybody's supposed to be asleep. He would have put the lamps out. Lights out. That's a thing. We still do it now in both, in all kinds of institutions, not just in prisons. But Paul shouted, "Don't harm yourself. We're all here." The jailer called for lights. Rushed in, fell trembling before Paul and Silas. He then brought them out and asked, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" They replied, "Believe in the Lord Jesus, and you will be saved, you and your household." Then they spoke the word of the Lord to him and to all the others in his house. At that hour of night, the jailer took them and washed their wounds. Then immediately he and his family were baptized. So he took them home. The jailer brought them into his house and set a meal before them. He was filled with joy because he had come to believe in God, he and his whole family. When it was daylight, the magistrates sent their officers to the jailer with the order, "Release those men." The jailer told Paul, "The magistrates have ordered that you and Silas be," I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with his name today, "Silas be released. Now you can leave. Go in peace." But Paul said to the officers, now you remember, Paul, who was Saul, is a Sanhedrin. Okay? So a Sanhedrin is like, it's like a preacher, it's like a lawyer, it's their job to know the law, they know how to speak, they're used to public speaking, they have certain responsibilities. They beat us publicly, without a trial, even though we are Roman citizens, and threw us into prison, and now they want to get rid of us quietly? No. Let them come themselves and escort us out. No. It was a public punishment. It will be a public apology, and then we can move forward. The officers reported this to the magistrates, and when they heard that Paul and Silas were Roman citizens, they were alarmed. That's because they weren't allowed to do those things. Roman citizens have rights. And when a citizen has rights, you can't just violate them and then quietly have everything go away. Paul knew what he was doing. They need to be able to come back and preach some more to this area. They just got another, disciple. They have to come back and get some more. They came to appease them and escorted them from the prison, requesting them to leave the city. So Paul and Silas came out of the prison. They went to Lydia's house, where they met with the brothers and encouraged them, and then they left. So sometimes we get put in situations and we're in places, maybe even unfairly, like Paul and Silas, who were, beaten for getting a demon. It's not even a demon, a spirit. Because the spirit's not exactly the same as a demon. Those are different energies. Because a demon, that's an entity. It's in hell. It's evil. This spirit was following them around, declaring the truth. And Paul got annoyed. He got annoyed, and he said something, and he cast the spirit out, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it also got him arrested. There are always consequences for the actions we take or don't take, no matter how powerful we are. That's really just the way it is. You can't go running around violating people's rights and then expect nothing to happen to you. If Paul never cast out the spirit, they wouldn't have been arrested. But if they hadn't been arrested, then they wouldn't have gotten to baptize that whole family for the jailers. So even when you can't quite see what good that situation brought to your life and the world, doesn't mean that it won't be revealed to you later. Sometimes, in order to accomplish our goals, we got to stir some stuff up because there's something out of balance happening. We shouldn't mess with people who are on the same side of us, and we shouldn't deliberately try to harm others. Whether or not we are on that narrow path to heaven is entirely about our intention and our actions towards others being for the positive and not for the negative. So, no matter how you feel about the different places that this takes you, because it does, there are consequences for various actions happening. And of those consequences, we're meant to learn lessons. I like to call them blessings, because every lesson leads to a blessing if you incorporate it. And in order to incorporate it, in order to show Creator that you're learning your lessons, you actually need to do something different when you're interacting with your 3D environment. So may we all anchor in the light today and learn the lessons that we need to learn so that we can get the blessings that come on the other side of it. You never know who you might be sent to help in the most untenable sorts of situations. Hello, friends. Welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I am an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in Book 1 of the Psalms, and we are reading Psalm 5 today. Yeah, Psalm 5 today. And then it's verses 1 through 12. So let's jump in. For the director of music, for flute, a psalm of David. Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my sighing. Listen to my cry for help, my King, my God, for to you I pray. In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my requests before you and wait in expectation. You are not a God who takes pleasure in evil. That's true. With you, the wicked cannot dwell. No, you can't have hate and love in the same space. Hate is the absence of love. The arrogant cannot stand in your presence. You hate all who do wrong. You destroy those who tell lies. Bloodthirsty and deceitful men the Lord abhors. But I, by your great mercy, will come into your house. In reverence will I bow down toward your holy temple. Lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of my enemies. Make straight your way before me. Reveal that narrow footpath, Lord, please. Not a word from their mouth can be trusted. Their heart is filled with destruction. Their throat is an open grave. With their tongue they speak deceit. Declare them guilty, O God. Let their intrigues be their downfall. Banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. For surely, O Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield. As you go about the world today, friends, when you remember that the shield and the sword and the armor that is the word of Jesus is all you really need to rebuke Satan. Well, Jesus rebuked him by quoting Deuteronomy. Scripture makes the things that go bump in the night run.